I served from 1984 through 1990, right before the first Gulf War.
I was drafted. I probably was just about 19 years of age.
I'm a retired sergeant major in the Marine Corps.
In my hometown, everybody served, and so I went in with 3 friends.
I'm Mr. Knoll, and I was in the U.S. Army. I was a military policeman for 3 years.
My name is Louis Hallisey II. I was a corporal in the United States Army.
Marlene Gayton, and I graduated from West Ottawa High School in 1982.
My name is Richard Kuzak, and I'm a U.S. Naval veteran.
My name is Fred Winter. I am 102.5 years young.
I was drafted and I served from 1966 to 1967.
I served for about 5 years. First year was 1985 is when I went in.
Yeah, I was 19 years old, so when I joined the Coast Guard, I grew up on the lakes and drove boats my whole life.
Delwyn Westenbrook. I was in the Army and I was a Spec 4.
I was stationed in Germany for 3 years. I was in the National Guard for 15.
I was part of that group that did weather forecasts for the local base.
I was in the United States Army. I retired in 2006 with 20 years active duty, 6 years in the National Guard.
So I graduated June 8th, 1968 from West Ottawa, of course.
I joined while I was in college to help pay for college was the main thing, and my family had always served. Both my parents served during World War II in Korea, so I thought that was a good option.
Yeah. I was ready to go when I got out of high school, before I got out of high school, but they won't let you in. You have to be 18 and you have to have a graduation certificate.
I was a ordnance technician. The ordnance technician is one that helps prepare the parts and ship the parts to the people in the field.
I was in the quartermaster. The quartermaster is the part that sends food to everybody overseas, issues all your uniforms, all your clothing, everything.
No job, so I enlisted in the Navy. I started out scrubbing decks.
I've been in since 1992. I was in Kuwait, Iraq, Afghanistan. I was stationed in Germany for 3 years, and I was in the National Guard for 15.
You know, basic training and then going through school, OJT, on-the-job training, and then I went active duty in '86.
Coming home after being anywhere in the military, but like if you're anywhere overseas and you come home, it is amazing. It's like this gift.
It was like a breath of fresh air, it really was. After doing it for 21 years and moving my family and my children. And
I think for me, the transition back to civilian life was easier than most because I went back to doing something I had been doing before I went into the service.
I decided to go back to college and went to Davenport University, and while I was there I needed a part-time job, and I was employed by West Ottawa Public Schools as a bus driver.
Oh, you made friends out there. I'm still in contact with a couple, one from Ohio and one in New York. And you had buddies for years. It's just hard to make contact with them, but yeah, we're friends for life.
But at the same time, it feels different. Like you look at your life through the lens of your experience in the military, I think, for the rest of your life.
Mine was really a lonely job. The guys that were severely hurt and were going to die, you had to tell them everything is going to be okay. You didn't want them to die scared. You wanted them to die with a little bit of hope.
Well, we were like brothers over there, really. It was a family. It was a big family, and we had a good time up there. We had our bad times. We got together.
It was interesting meeting different people from different cultures, different backgrounds, and we were all there for the same reason.
Coming back home, and my wife and the kids meet me, and I got back. Where so many I knew never got back.
But unfortunately, I had to put a couple of my friends in body bags. So I didn't make friends anymore. I had acquaintances. I would be friendly with the guys, I would chat with them, but I didn't want any friends.
So yeah, we all tend to go our separate ways, whether it's from reassignment or when we each leave the service and go our separate ways. And with, like most people, the older you get, the harder it is to keep in touch with people.
Good memories. I went through my training at Aberdeen Proving Grounds in Maryland. Got additional education from that program. And while I was in Europe, I got to travel through several countries. Great experience for a 19-year-old.
The NCO leadership that I did in Wisconsin, did some training there, was significant. We got to do some interesting courses where they dropped us off like 20 miles from where we were stationed, and we had to do a compass course to get back. So that was an adventure.
A lot of good times, a lot of good memories. Being around Marines, there's a special brotherhood with Marines that most people don't understand. Not even the other services understand it. But we actually, our motto is Semper Fidelis, always faithful. And we swear to each other that no one gets left behind, dead or alive. Marines will die before you leave another dead Marine on the battlefield.
I just remember that's when I knew that I belonged to a group of brothers. We took care of each other. Everybody was looking out for each other. Where were we going to sleep that night? Making sure everybody had meals to eat. And so that's one of the things I remember the most.
The thing that I remember the most about my time in the military is the people that I served with. So whenever somebody asks me about it, the faces of the people that I served with and the experiences that we shared together are the first things that come to mind. So when we were in a difficult situation together, when we work and struggle together to meet the goals of our mission, that's what I remember the most. And I miss the people the most.
I was a little kid when the Vietnam War was going on, and a lot of people were protesting against it. And when I did go through my 3 years in the military, it definitely changed my concept of what they do for us. And like I said before, it's really hard to imagine what it's like unless you know somebody.
We did flare drops over the Ho Chi Minh Trail. I was actually stationed in Naha, Okinawa. At night we did flare missions. On the Ho Chi Minh Trail, they had sensors. I didn't realize this at the time, but there was sensors buried all along the Ho Chi Minh Trail that pick up ground vibrations. And when one of them went off, we'd go in there and they have what they call a 3-minute turn. We'd make a big circle, usually about anywhere from 10 to 20,000 feet, and we drop flares off the back of the plane.
We were guarding a coal mine in the Ruhr district of Germany. The reason we were guarding that mine because it had 2 shafts on each side of the Rhine. The Germans were on the opposite side, so we were guarding the mine so that they would not send a reconnaissance patrol or a combat patrol through the mine shaft.
Took part in the Battle of Okinawa. At nighttime it was terrible because you didn't dare fire your M1 to give away your position, so you used a knife. And a lot of times the guys forgot the password and they got stabbed. I remember 2 sentries were guarding the road. The relieving guards were singing American songs. The guards on duty thought they were jacks. Fire and kill them.
Everything broke loose. We started getting bombarded and we started getting hit. And right away I got my front loader, took off, and we all got our weapons and started going around and started doing our duty. The 173rd went up there, and because they lost contact with another Army specialist or whatever, they were up there, and the next thing you know it, they went up there to see how they were doing, but they were all gone.
You know, I've had several of them, I really have, but I think just in general, just being there to save a family member or somebody's child, or, you know, during heavy seas and heavy weather. I can't pinpoint one specific rescue. I've been part of 300, so all of them, all lives saved, was the greatest moments of my Coast Guard career.
I think one of the biggest things I learned in the military was really to appreciate our country.
I would say there's a lot of things I've learned, and a lot of them I still practice today. Respect to the authority, taking care of oneself, you know, health-wise, mentally, spiritually.
One of the Air Force's mottos is excellence in all we do. And having left the Air Force, I try to apply that to my civilian life, is if I'm going to be doing something, I'm going to do the best that I can at it.
One of the things that I really touched by is the fact that my father was a POW for 3 years, and I felt like he really didn't get very much recognition around Cincinnati for that. He was in newspaper articles. They didn't know if he was dead or alive for almost a year. My grandmother was torn to pieces about it, you know, not knowing whether he was, because his whole unit was killed point blank when they were trying to surrender. And there were only 5 of them left that were survived, and Dad was one of them. My most important factor, I think, is my father.
Being able to travel around a lot of the world, we are an extremely spoiled country. We have everything we want, everything we need. My father taught me, this is America, you can have whatever you want. All you got to do is work for it. And that is so true in our country. When you go to other countries and you see them, they have nothing. In Iraq, families were living on top of a garbage dump. They made homes out of the old 5-gallon aluminum cans. And they made homes out of that and put roofs on them. And their kids were there. They had their dogs in the dump. They had their animals in the dump. That's the way they lived. And we complain here in this country on the way that we live. Everything isn't perfect. It never will be. All right? But we have it so wonderful.
You know, every day is a gift. We're very sheltered here in the United States. We don't understand what the rest of the world is like. You know, it really is a big bad place out there, and that big bad wolf really does exist, and they really do want to kill us just because of who we are, and not because of anything that we've done. And every day here, I mean, is a blessing. This is the best place to live in the entire world. And until you've been out there and seen that, you don't understand it. So try to understand that.
Take care of your veterans. They earned it by doing what they did. Some saw action. Many of my friends didn't come back from Korea. I'm very appreciative that I had the opportunity to go where I went, but I also thank those that served.
You know, most people don't know that most wars are served with 19-year-old kids, and I was 19 when I served. And we look at wars in our countrymen and our service members as these old wise people. Well, I mean, they're not. They're 19, just like some of our students here, and they're doing the best job they can. So thank you.
You know, when people say thank you for serving, a lot of times I don't know what to say, but it was really an honor to be a veteran. So I feel kind of awkward sometimes when people say thank you. I was just doing what was right.
For high school students who are thinking of the military after high school, you do need to think a lot, and it does help to really talk to your family and friends and loved ones, because in going to protect America's freedoms, you're giving up a lot of your freedoms.
Yeah, you know, Veterans Day to me is just a time to think about all the people, men and women, who have devoted their time to this great country. And really it means something different to everyone, so I'm really not here to say what it should mean to the students of West Ottawa. For me, it's a time to reflect on past histories and the men and women who served proudly for this beautiful country.
It's a day to stop and recognize other veterans besides myself. Especially the older ones, went through more, did more. A lot of respect for them. So
It's easy to recognize and acknowledge people that are currently serving, and rightly so. But you have to remember that there have been people that have served. Sometimes they're recent, sometimes their service was a long time ago. But just because it was a long time ago, we should not forget that they once served too.
To me, it's a celebration of the people who have signed up and said, you know, I'll pay that price if need be. And when you look at the small percentage of veterans in the country today, it's really a small community.
Veterans Day is just a special day set aside to remember all the veterans that served. We have Memorial Day, which is for the fallen soldiers and sailors, all the servicemen and women. And Veterans Day is just to remember the living as well as the ones that have passed on and that we lost fighting for our country and for the freedoms that we have.
Some of us don't remember that there are actual people out there. And Veterans Day is a good reminder that, you know, there are people willing to put their lives on the line so that we can have the kind of life we have here.
Veterans Day, it's a beautiful day. And we live in a land where we feel that it's worth fighting for.
I hope the public recognizes and respects veterans because they did a lot of sacrifice.
To me, it's to honor all veterans, dead, alive, you name it. It's one thing I've got to say is on Veterans Day, I'm very proud that America, the U.S., really helps us out in remembering us. And I hope they continue the legacy with all the high school students and all to keep us alive, not only us, but all other veterans from all wars. It's a big thing for us, and we do really appreciate people doing things for us. Just a big thank you, and it really does feel good in the heart.
It's Veterans Day, this emotion, a lot of tears sometimes. You hold the tears back, but they're there. It brings it back, it's fresh, like it happened yesterday.
Veterans Day is a time to basically get together with your fellow veterans. Talking helps. You know, most of us have seen stuff we'd rather forget and don't like to talk about.
I've learned that all the daily things that we go through back here in the United States really don't mean that much. It's just not that important. You know, when your perspective is, I get to sleep in my bed every night. No one's shooting at me today, and no one's trying to drop mortars on me or shoot rockets at me. Every day is a good day, and there's really not too much to complain about.
With all the viewers, all I can share is I want to thank every single one of you for supporting us, for helping us out. And I'll tell you, it means a lot to us. And please continue the legacy for the future.
I think it's just a recognition of the people who served our country and continue to serve, that our safety and protection are really based upon the service of those individuals, and you know that it's a significant challenge and sacrifice that they make, because sometimes it requires the ultimate sacrifice of their lives. So I think we want to just honor those who've taken that on as a challenge.
Well, I really appreciate the acknowledgement of people and the schools that recognize this. Not just because we were in and got back, but for the people that have served and gave their lives freedom is not free. And our country and my flag means a lot to me. And I respect West Ottawa schools, the students, for their attendance and the way they behave. That tells me a lot about the parents, about the teachers and the superintendent and the principal. And I have a lot of respect for everybody there. And I appreciate that.